I don't know if humanity in general is ready for this. It's like my question years and years ago, is humanity ready for freedom? And everybody, shook their heads, yes, freedom, freedom. But I still question it, because freedom requires responsibility. Freedom for yourself requires a tremendous responsibility. No taking or feeding off of others, no blaming others. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility that saying, I am the creator. There is nothing in my way. There is nothing stopping me from wealth or health or anything else. That's freedom. That's a creator. But it also takes a tremendous amount of responsibility for yourself as the creator. So I'm saying all this in preparation for where we're going to go today. I'm saying all this to help really ground the understanding that consciousness is everything. It is what creates. Consciousness is what attracts energy. Consciousness is what created this entire universe and all of the other universes. It's not spiritual. This whole understanding is not spiritual. It's definitely not New Age, definitely not religious, but it's not even spiritual. Because the minute that we start attaching spiritual qualities to it, we get into belief systems and gods and a lot of things that will actually limit the understanding of consciousness. It's not really science, but it's going to be. It's not really considered physics yet, but it's going to be. But it is this thing called consciousness that you are is everything. Is everything. It's going to be strange looking back 20, 30 years ago from now. It's going to be strange for future generations from now to say, what was wrong with those people back in the 19th, 20th, 21st century? They had no understanding of consciousness. It wasn't really even in the vocabulary. I mean, it was a word, but nobody really knew what it meant. They're going to look back generations from now and be amazed, befuddled that humans at the time didn't even understand the basics of consciousness. And again, this is not spiritual. This is not New Age. This is not philosophical. This is the core of all things in the universe, in the omniverse, everywhere. That's why I've been very adamant with you, talking about experiencing the I exist, understanding consciousness, and understanding the difference between consciousness and energy. You hear the words and you're starting to understand, but you still tend to pair the two together. Consciousness and energy, the same thing, and they're not. With some of the recent experiences that we've had with going into consciousness, things like in the recent Merabh of going through the house and then out and ultimately releasing everything, being in nothingness. Some of you are really starting to understand, and it kind of rings a bell within you. This I exist, this consciousness. And it strips away all the machio, it strips away all the old belief systems, and it strips away, it washes away things like what you thought were your problems and your issues and everything else. And you suddenly realize, I exist. Death doesn't matter. Your relatives don't matter. Your job doesn't matter. When I say it doesn't matter, meaning you've been putting undue effort and focus into these things. They don't matter. With true consciousness, all this just kind of falls into place. Life becomes synchronous. It just happens. And it's all being led. The leading edge of all of it is consciousness. Where do you want your consciousness to be? Creating your own reality is modern day witchcraft. And people are going to tell you you're crazy. You can't just create your own reality. You're going to tell yourself even that you're probably crazy. But in fact, indeed, you can. That's where we're going with the transhuman series. I'll talk about it a little bit today. How reality is nothing more than consciousness in awareness, consciousness in perception. And then all the energies shift and accommodate. But people think that reality is there first and then they come in. They are subject to reality, to external forces. They try at times to make that external force more accommodating to their needs. But they never really change reality. But why not? When you understand what reality is, it's just it's the composition of energies that are responding to consciousness. So why can't you create whatever reality that you want? As I said in Munich, we had to go through a lot of discussions, a lot of shouts over the years to get to this point, because without really understanding what consciousness is, what the I exist is, without understanding how consciousness affects energy, how nothing exists without consciousness, nothing on this whole universe and the other universes exists without consciousness. It is the core. It is immeasurable. It is invisible. It is powerless. But yet it is the everything. With that understanding, and with the understanding that there's no need for power, there's no need to have to fight for anything in your life. There's no reason to struggle or to effort, unless you happen to want to, just for good old sake, for times, unless you want to. But literally, you can create whatever reality you want by just being conscious. That's it. What's reality? What's reality? Well, it's what you perceive. That's simple. Philosophers have philosophized about it. Authors have written about it. Teachers have taught about it, and counselors have counseled about it. But what is reality? It's what you perceive. That's it. Reality has become this word. People talk about reality, that like it's set in place in concrete and stone. Well, some of it is, but it doesn't mean that it's not movable. It's not changeable. Now, humans have been trying for as long as I ever knew after I escaped from my giant crystal prison. Humans have been trying to alter reality ever since. I've watched over eons of time as they've changed, they've tried to change reality, but in oh so little steps, with oh so little success, with a lot of frustration. They've tried to change the nature of reality. Well, the problem is quite simple. The problem is that, A, they believe the reality. They believe this is real. They're trying to change it from within their beliefs, and it doesn't budge very far. As a matter of fact, there's a tendency for reality to contract or to become even more solidified when one really buys into the fact that this is reality. This is not. This is perception. That's all it is. That's all this is perception. I've talked a lot, particularly in the last few years, about the human senses and the mind, and how everything is brought in through these senses and then believed as reality. In order for one to truly go beyond this reality, in order for one to truly change the natures of realities, both being plural, natures of reality, one must be willing to go out and beyond, but one must be willing to also perceive with a whole different set of senses, not of the human senses, but of what you would call your I am senses. I've talked about this in great length because it's so so important to understand. This is just a way of perceiving. Scientists even are understanding that matter is not matter, or matter doesn't matter. They're beginning to realize that although you perceive the floor as being solid, and you perceive the person next to you being flesh and bones, it's actually not. It's actually, if you bear with me a moment, but through your eyes, what you're perceiving right now is vastly nothing. Vastly nothing. What you see with your eyes, you assume to be a body, hair, the floor, the ceiling, everything else. Actually, what's there is almost nothing but empty space. Isn't that amazing? But the eyes would have you, the eyes are actually doing a nice job of telling your mind that the room is filled with people, or if you're watching it online, that you're watching a computer. You're not. You're watching empty space. For the most part, there are some would say there are particles. I say even that's not true. There is plasma. What you're really sensing in reality is the movement of plasma. That's it. Kind of unromantic, isn't it? Yeah. Tonight you hug somebody in bed, and it's like, you're just hugging plasma, it's like, and the plasma is also creating a gravity or creating an effect that is of time and space. So you think that something is happening, as you're hugging that person in bed, and you think that the day is passing and pretty soon you're going to be asleep. Nah. You're just immersed in plasma that's moving through you. But you've been brilliant enough, absolutely brilliant enough to say, let's make it a little bit more exciting. Let's turn plasma, let's turn the movement of time and space into defined experience and reality. Because just swimming around in a bunch of plasma is not a lot of fun, Actually, some days it's probably more fun than the human life. But look what you've done. You've created this out of plasma, which is responding to consciousness, which is really you. You've created all this, and you can also uncreate it, or you can create something totally different. And it's not that hard to do. Creating reality, and I'm not trying to talk about the kind of what we've seen in the past, people trying to change the world. Stop doing that. Create realities for yourself. Now, in creating whatever reality it is that you choose, is going to require getting out of the zoo, going beyond your mind, not worrying about. The important point here is you're doing it for yourself. Stop trying to change the world. That is energetically counterproductive. The moment, a lot of you have been do-gooders in the past, and the moment you're trying to change the world, which I know it's kind of compelling, you want to make everything good and pretty, but it doesn't necessarily want to be good and pretty. World doesn't necessarily want to be defined by your terms. So you go out and try to change the world and think you're doing good, feel really proud and self-righteous and everything else about being a do-gooder. What happens is the natural responsive energy will try to then change you. It will come back on you. It will confine you more. It will screw you up, mess you up more. You're trying to change somebody else's natural order or perception. You're acting outside of the compassion, then it's going to do the same thing to you. So stop trying to change the world. Allow yourself to change your own realities. In order to do so, understand that this isn't reality anyway. This is plasma. and we talked about it at some length in Bonn, but this is just a way of perceiving the movement of you could say forces, energy. So a lot of you are like, I got to get out of here. There's something more. I've got to change reality. And you can at any moment by, well, it's as simple as allowing it. The tricky part is, again, saying, I'm not going to try to change everything out there. I'm not going to try to change bad traffic or rude humans or anything like that. And that's where some of you have run into problems. It's like, well, I just want all that to change for me. No. In order to change reality, it's about doing it for you. And then it's just about letting yourself really imagine, dream, or we should say feel into the other realms. And the other realms don't even exist until you get there. Don't think of the other realms as something predefined, as there's already these heavens. There's already everything else is defined out there, because it's a trap. It's really just more of this reality. When you get into that, like you think, that's why I'm adamantly opposed to when people get into the fifth dimension and the sixth and everything else, because they're buying into just a little bit more polished human reality. They don't really understand, and there's not those dimensions. There's nothing until you're there. And then a new reality starts to take form. A new reality is birthed. Not one that you're going to bring everybody else into. Don't even worry about that right now. But one that you can birth on your own. What does that mean? It means you know that there's so much more than this, and there is. But the place to start is birthing your own new realities by being there. I am here. And you can be multiple places, of course. You can be I am here. You can be having a conversation with another master. And in the meantime, birthing a new reality for yourself. It's going to liberate you to understand that you're not stuck here. It's going to free you to realize the beauty of putting consciousness into what's now nothing and birthing something and then watching it evolve. Not in human terms, not in the old human ways, but watching it evolve in a way that is not linked or not set into this reality. Let's take a good deep breath here for a moment. Feel a lot of going mental. There is a lot more than this. A lot more. And as we go into our transhuman series, we're going to be literally experiencing your other realms. Not other dimensions that belong to somebody else or anything. And then from that experience, you'll understand really how you got here and how easy it is to go beyond. So instead of talking about it, let's have some music and experience it. Reality. What is it? What is it? Well, it's your presence. It's your I am here. Reality is a way of perceiving, sensing. Reality is kind of a temporary journey, little experience. Actually, it doesn't even have to have purpose. I know humans really like to have purpose, then they feel justified in getting stuck. You don't need purpose in this reality or in any other reality. I mentioned recently that I'm sad to see that humans now don't go out beyond in their dream state. It used to be that they would go out there and get into the crystalline realms, the creative realms, the no realms. And I watch it now and they don't. They stay close to home when they go to sleep at night. They stay in humanness, even if they're not physically present, but they're present in every other way. They stay immersed in their problems, and they stay immersed in mass consciousness. They don't go out anymore. Kind of like, kids these days, I hear you saying all the time, kids these days, they stay inside and play video games. Well, humans, they stay within the boundaries of mass consciousness and don't venture off. One of the things that I'd like you to do right now is to feel into going into these other realms in your dream state, passing beyond the confines of mass consciousness, limitation, humanness. Really giving yourself that deep permission now, starting tonight, starting now, to go beyond those realms. In a way, they're comforting. Those realms are, you're familiar with them. But it's time to go out and beyond. It's time to be creators once again. Go into nothingness. Your body is sleeping, your mind is somewhat quieted, and now the I am here. I am present. Can go out into nothingness. Where is nothingness? Well, it's nowhere. But you go out into where there is nothing, let alone maybe some plasma, some energy, but just it's even in a state of nothing within nothingness, just waiting for you. And then your presence starts a birthing. It's not confined to time nor space. Your presence starts a movement of energy, even without having to define what you want it to become. It actually just happens when you're present in nothingness, meaning freedom. Energies start moving. The human would have had to start defining, shaping, building, perceiving the energies, but when you're out here in nothingness and you're birthing creativity, you don't have to define, you don't have to determine the size and the shape and the colors. You don't have to do any of that. You're just there, your presence. This is pure creation. This is effortless creation. And this is how reality comes to be. The nature of reality starts here, in nothing. And it's birthed of you. It's birthed of you. Now, I'd like you to observe for a moment, and not thinking. I'd like you to observe, perceive, in a way you may not be used to, but perceive now as a new reality is birthed of you. I use the word of very deliberately. Be the observer now, to perceive what happens. I'm going to tell you one thing about reality. I hope you really let yourself feel into it. It doesn't matter if any of this has ever been done before. It doesn't matter if there are actually angelic councils and a crimson council. It doesn't matter that there's a Saint Germain. It doesn't matter that there's a God. It doesn't matter that you view things as kind of top down, and you're kind of at the bottom of the whole trickle-down cycle of creation. It doesn't matter that there's a new earth. It doesn't matter that there is even this thing called spirit. Doesn't matter one bit. Because the moment that you allow the consciousness of it, it becomes so. There might have never been anything called enlightenment, never an enlightened master ever walked the face of this earth. Might have just been totally boring biology. Evolution from pond scum up to this over millions and millions of years. And it wasn't created by energies or God or anything. The funny thing is, it doesn't matter. Because the moment that your consciousness is there, then it is so. Then you've created the God. Then you've created the new. You've created something outside of the old cycle. You've created Saint Germain and Adamus. It doesn't matter if it was never there before. You could be creating it from the bottom up. And it can be being created from the top down. It doesn't really matter. What matters is if your consciousness is there. Then it becomes so. Then universes and dimensions are created. It doesn't matter if time was a constant and energy was just energy. Because the moment you dream something beyond, then it occurs. That's what I love about creation. It works both ways. It's top down and it's bottom up. That's the amazing part. Thank you. So anything else you're worried about?
Nothing major, no.
No? Okay.
Oh.
Just one more thing. Yeah.
Well, the whole enlightenment business.
The whole enlightenment business. Yes. Yeah. Let's see, I can't think of anything else. Oh, yeah. The world, the universe, God, the whole. Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about that little stress in my life. Yeah. So what would be your worry about it?
Oh, am I doing it right? When will I get there? I understand that I am already there.
Let's go right to the core. Does it exist?
Okay.
I'd worry about that. If I were any of you, I'd worry, is it even real? Yeah. I mean, I'd worry big time about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're taking it on faith.
Sure. And what proof do you have?
None.
Absolutely none. But I will tell you one little secret. Even if it's not true, even if it's all a bunch of whitewash, a funny thing happens because of the nature of consciousness that if it didn't exist, consciousness makes it exist, creates it to exist. If I use my green pond scum story, say if there's no God, it was just this weird evolution from green pond scum and it created Earth and humans and everything else, and there is no God, there are no angels. Consciousness, which has to exist, it has to exist for anything else to exist. Mm-hmm. Consciousness is now going to create God and heavens and angels and ascension and enlightenment and the full blossoming of what was just green pond scum into magnificent ascended masters. That's the beauty of it. It's actually not necessarily coming top down. God, angels, humans, animals, green ponds come. It could come up the other way. It's the amazing thing. That's the beauty of consciousness. If everything else is distorted or not true or doesn't exist, the moment consciousness is added, it becomes so. That's the amazing thing. So let's say there is no such thing as enlightenment. You're born and you die, and that's it. Suddenly, the moment that your consciousness says, no, there's more, then there is. That's the amazing thing. And that applies to everything, whether it's this, whether it's your human life, and that's kind of actually what's happening in your human life right now. You're putting consciousness in it, and it's expanding and creating. Whether it was ever there before or not, now it is. The amazing miracle that's happening is, even if there was just, let's say the old biblical God, and that's all there was, and you die and you go to heaven or hell, let's say that's all there was. Suddenly it's changing from consciousness. Suddenly it's like, no, I want more. Now there is more. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for letting me carry on. David hardly ever gets to talk. Yes?
I feel that I have trusted other people more than myself.
Good. So let's change that around a little bit. You don't trust yourself. That has nothing to do with other people. Yeah. That could be, for her, a very, very good reason. I don't trust myself. There is a huge factor in enlightenment. I'm going to get into it in just a moment, but there's a huge factor about letting go. And it's ingrained in each and every one of you when you really let go. And I mean let go. That the dragons, the demons, and Satan and everybody else are going to be there waiting for you to devour you. It's a fear that's been instilled in every one of you. And there is that. What if I let go and this was all a joke? I'm going to give you my simple answer beyond that. Life is whatever you basically imagine it, choose it to be. With the Kyeper. The Kyeper, there's this air, physical air, the ethereal air. It creates a fabric, like a material, like a beautiful, glistening material. And you throw your Kyeper on that fabric, and it creates your life. Most people don't know that, and they don't do it consciously. They just kind of splatter on that fabric. But there's this beautiful fabric, and with a Kyeper, you can create anything you want. It doesn't... Where you're going, where all of us are going, is beyond, into whatever you want. There's this fear that there's going to be some darkness. You just laugh at the darkness. Yeah, it's going to be there. Well, it's going to be yours. You just laugh at it. And then we become whatever we choose to become. And continuing to evolve it, to expand it, to make more of that painting on this air and ether fabric. It's that simple. In other words, none of it matters. It's only what you choose. So, but a part of it's trusting yourself. It goes back to an old thing I'm really tired of now. Oh, I did bad things in a past lifetime and I killed people. I was in war. Yeah, we all did. That's part of the human journey. Get over it. Just get over it. It's not going to happen again to any of you. None of you, just double checking, none of you are going to be murderers or, you're not going to be terrorists or anything like that. So it's not going to happen. Get over it. Okay, one more quick one. We do need to move on.
You already called on?
And Shambhara, yeah. Somebody's already on their email or Facebook or whatever. How can he be so arrogant? You know what? It's an act. And maybe you stop out of acting like such a deadhead. Oh. And I'm not talking to all of them. There's just one person out there. Oh, he's so arrogant. Why don't you stop acting like a bore, okay? You know who you are. It's all an act, you see? And if you act a little pompous, it's better than acting like, oh, I'm a victim. Try it. Act a little, yeah, life has been good to me, so I'm a little better. I don't care. It's just an act. And then, you know what happens? You act that way. It's like, okay, so I got more money than you, okay? And that's fine by me, not by you. And you start acting that way, and you know what? The energy gets delivered to you that way. That's kind of a weird thing. It's called, like, where's my book? I need a prop. Active consciousness. Yeah, somebody have, there you go. Yeah. It's the act of consciousness. It's all here. It's actually 150 pages. Interesting to note, about 10 of which are blank. Why do they do that? And it's all an act. You act like you're ready for ascension or enlightenment. Guess what? It's there. It's all an act. Some would argue that acting is not real. Oh, crap, look at you. That is an act, and it's not real, and it's really tiring now. And I'm not talking to all of you online. There's just that one. One that's, Adamus. I'm going to write something bad on Facebook. It's all an act. And you can act any way you want. You can act eccentric, and you already do. You can act any way you want. You can act like you are so together. And even if that human part of you goes, oh, you're faking it. I don't care. So are you, stupid human part. You're faking it. I'm going to act like I'm really together, that I'm abundant. I'm going to act like my health is good, that I've got this youthful, vibrant body. It's all an act. And the moment you start believing that, well, you're faking it, the moment you start buying into your act as only a human of limitations, you got a long, long, long way to go. So, act, whatever, and act many, all at the same time. It's all at the same time. It's not singular. You can be many actors on your stage at one time, whatever you feel like.
Sure, sure.
Let's start at the end. And I like that because it's also letting you know that there is not really just a regular linear time frame. I've been talking about that for a long time, but you're already the master. Now you're just finding out how you got there. It's already there. It wasn't me that said that. It was Tobias who told you years and years ago in the Ascension series. You already ascended. Now you're just finding out what it was like to get there. And guess what? You get to choose. Do you want it the easy way, the hard way? Do you want to feel like you really worked hard for it to earn it? Do you want to do it with some suffering so you've got great stories to tell back at the Ascended Masters Club? Or do you just want to glide into it? Yeah, and it's totally up to you. So we'll start at the end. And the end of today's shout is saying that you are an attractant, or an attractor. You attract energies. You're like a magnet. Actually, consciousness is like a creative magnet. You're attracting things into your life all the time. As you're sitting right here, as you're watching it online, there's a constant flow of energy that you're attracting. The question is, what do you want to attract, and how do you want to attract it? You got used to attracting energy, not even being aware of it, but attracting it in a very, I would say, kind of a mundane, kind of a very limited way. And it doesn't need to be that way. You are an attractant. Now, at the same time, we'll discuss in another shout, you are also a transmitter. You are projecting energies forth. As a creator, you are constantly projecting to make your reality. But today we're going to talk about the attractant part of you. Sitting here, watching it online, you're a magnet. And whether you think you're doing anything or not, there's a tremendous flow of energies into you, through you. You are attracting just the perfect thing at the perfect time, whether your human self realizes it or not. Constant attraction. So sitting here together like we are in this shout, what are you attracting? What do you really want to attract into your life? What energies, what experiences, what realities do you want to attract in your life? And it's a bit of a trick question because the human really doesn't know. Really doesn't know. When I ask that question, what do you want to attract into your life? You immediately go into a very programmed and a very rigid limitation. We've kind of done this before with the audience. What do you really want to do in life? What's your greatest desire? And it was so limited, considering all the potentials and possibilities. So sitting here right now, what do you want to attract? Because you are an attractant. Once you become aware of that, how it works, how easily, simply it works, you really can start to create your reality, different realities, any way you want. But again, a bit of a trick question because does the human really know what they want? Can the human see beyond the walls, the limitations that they put up? It wasn't because you were stupid or it wasn't because you're lazy. It happened as a result of the sense of focus. You came into a deep sense of focus. You forgot that there's all these other things out there, which we'll talk about today, and you've forgotten that you are a natural attractant of energies and experiences. That translates into people, opportunities, abundance, whatever it is you want in your life. Humans, for the most part, have gotten into the kind of I guess it would be a lazy habit of just accepting destiny, and there is none. And there is none whatsoever. But it's almost easier to say it's just my destiny. It was some other plan for me, a higher self, angels, God, or whatever, and they truly kind of slip into the doldrums of mediocrity, forgetting that you are an attractant as well as a creator. So that's the end of the story today. Now let's see how we get there. But I want you to keep in mind, it's the same thing. You're a master, enlightened being. You're ascended, all the rest of that. It's already a done deal. How did you get there? What experiences did you go through? You don't earn your way there, as I've said many times before. You don't have to work hard to get there. It's just what experience did you want in order to get there? It's that simple. So let's take a good deep breath with that. Feel that part of you, all of you actually, that is the constant attractant of energies. Like a light that's constantly attracting, bringing forth into your life. Energies that nobody else is controlling. Nobody else is manipulating. It's just you. Unless, of course, you believe that others are controlling, that there's conspiracies, that whether it's a government or aliens or your parents or anybody else has influence, has sway over your life. Well, if you believe that, that's the way you will attract energies. If you get off of that, you realize, I am a being of consciousness. I am a consciousness magnet. I bring forth everything into my life I choose. Even things that the human self may not be aware of. Let's take a good deep breath with that. We'll come back to that at the end. See how we got there.